Welcome to Seven Trumpets Prepper. Guys, I want to tell you that right now, the most important thing that all of us can be focused on is keeping the commandments. I had a subscriber point out to me, I guess I'd posted some gear reviews the other day there, or whatever, catching that up from where I've been out and about, and pointed out to me that, I haven't really been speaking about the awakening lately. And I guess maybe they were also pointing out about waking up the true Hebrews and stuff. That's all fine and good, and it's great to find out who your heritage is, and it's great to find out that, you're the seed of Israel. But, at the end of the day, the heritage thing only goes so far. And if we were all honest with ourselves right now, if you went to look up yourself in the book of the genealogy, those that weren't found in the book of Moses weren't accounted among the multitude. And so, I say that not to take shots at Israel. I say that as that we all have a hard time finding our ancestry right now. We all have a hard time understanding who we are as an individual, regardless. Son of Ham, son of Japheth, son of, son of Shem, and then further descendant, seed Abraham, seed Israel, etc. The more that one spends time trying to search down their ancestries, the more it can also become a struggle at times. Of course, a lot of people that are seed Israel, they can start to sort that out because of the fact that they know that they're seeing that they run to the curses of Deuteronomy 28 and their ancestors, stuff that they've suffered. But at the end of the day, if you look at the book of Revelation about the multitude that stands before the throne of every nation, kindred, and tongue, okay, this multitude on top of those that would be Israel, because people say, well, that's the people of Israel out of those nations. But if you look at it in depth in Revelation, it talks about multitudes of the other nations seeing salvation as well. From every premise, I can read that in depth from the Hebrew text, Greek, and of course, Scripture talks about not vexing the stranger because you were a stranger in the land of Egypt, and so on, so on, so on. And right now, of course, the last thing I would say to this before I get into the heart of the matter, which is the Ten Commandments today, is the most important thing right now, in my opinion, under salvation, accepting Messiah, is that, and I'll express why in a minute, but, if you look at it, I see a lot that wake up and see their true Israel go on this campaign to turn away everyone else of every nation unto salvation. It's pretty sad at times to see that. And furthermore, I've seen where people that are mixed, like say their father was white, their mother was black, and then all of a sudden they're accepted in the group because they just look like it, but they're just as much of the nations as us. So I've seen so many discrepancies and stuff over the years that, when it comes down to it, to me, it's a matter of accepting Messiah and keeping the commandments. That's what's all going to shake out here in the end. And to me, that is the most important thing that needs to be preached right now, is the return to keeping the commands and faith in Messiah. Because to me, the church houses today, those should be the two main premises taught, and they are the least spoke of. And even in the Torah community, everyone wants to talk about, right now it seems to be the awakening. I found out I'm a Hebrew, or, oh, well, now look at you, you're a Gentile now for sure. And this seems to be like a hot topic when we are seeing all this stuff go on with this jab right now. People saying it's the mark of the beast. Guys, as soon as I see just a few more things, I'll be more than glad to jump on the bandwagon as well. I'm just trying to be careful to put labels on stuff, because, we're going to see where that forced worship, stuff like that, can't buy and sell without it. And I see this track in that direction. But the thing is if we look at the commandments, don't have no other Elohim before me, don't make in the graven image, all these things, like people's making idolatry out of this jab thing right now. I seen the doctor that was mocking people and got his second dose and died. YAH is not mocked. YAH is not mocked. And, as a stranger, okay, of the nations who's come to the truth to serve YAH and convert, I just look at it like Kepha, Peter, went to the Gentiles. There's so many things shown where that, the light was spread out to the nations, and all praise Most High for that. I'm trying to think where it's at when Most High rebuked Israel, said, that had the nations been told, they would accept it, but, Israel was stiff-necked pretty much. I can't think of chapter, line, verse at the top of my head at the moment. And these things, it's not the beef of it's not the core of the matter today. The core of the matter today is if we were really serious, if people were really serious about this, the stranger and the Hebrews, a lot out of both parties that say that they're Torah keepers, if they were really in it to win it, I'm just going to start right away. And if you want to call this taking shots, that's fine if you call it taking shots. But if people were really in this thing to win it, they'd keep the Father's lunisolar scriptural calendar, because they will take time from their jobs, okay, and they will do the feast days by the Father's calendar. But they won't do it for the Sabbath. They'll go SAT day. And furthermore, they will call that abominable day the Sabbath. And they will defend it. When, if you look at history, just one thing is that SAT day used to be the first day of the week on the Roman calendar, and then got swapped to the seventh day of the week, and SUN day became the first, because that was the prominent day that the pagans wanted to worship. And so, say you always were saying, well, 77777. Well, and that SAT day was that, right? Well, that right there proves that that's wrong, and that's a falsehood, and that's historical fact. See, like, you don't even have to get up in a debate with people. Like, I don't need to stand in a debate platform with anybody about that. That is a historical fact. But you've got to just take 2 seconds and Google that. Okay, the Bass Titus stick calendar, Fastiantiantes Majoris Roman calendar. I mean, like, the lunisolar Roman calendar used to be 8 days long with with a market week at the end, or market day at the end, 8 days. There's just no way that you can say this Roman calendar is one and the same with the Father's. Okay, and that's just, and I go to that one because I always gravitate to that, because it's just like with the Bill of Rights. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, but it's the one that's the go-to that everybody wants to take everybody's rights away. Don't own a gun. The way I see it, if you want to own an Abrams tank, you could have one in your backyard, or a nuclear football for that matter. I'm not saying everybody should do that. I'm just saying that's kind of how it reads. Now, on the flip side of that, remember the Shabbat day to keep it set apart, right? And yet that's the one day that nobody will keep it right. Half people won't get out here and try to keep it right. And on top of that, they will worship on Satan's day, Saturn. And if you look, Chiun, and Stephen that got stoned for it, I've said this before, he was calling Israel out for Saturn worship, or Stur worship, and the hidden one, just like I believe it's said, and this is the one thing today, now don't quote me on, you've got to do your research on this again, because it's been a minute since I researched it, but now, like the golden calf, the disc in the middle of there represented the hidden one as well, I think. So, every time Israel's always been in apostasy, it seems like Saturn worship seems to be the go-to day deity. And it's always been, it still is now. And so, a lot of stuff like that, that one right there is just like the biggest one to me right now, that so many people, I guess I would say, is in error or apostasy, open apostasy. But to go on a deeper level past that at this point, I think, is that, and please note I said I think, is you look at the jab, and people are making a religion out of this, okay? And there is a division amongst people. And then there is the excusing it away of destroying your temple, because you are a temple. And your DNA, editing your DNA, and I'm trying to be careful not to say too much about this, because I've been real good about not getting my content pulled here lately. But, I don't understand what part of don't make any graven image, or don't worship any other deities and stuff like this that people don't get, especially those in the Torah community, because people, here they are going and getting this jab. And then, here they are in one way saying they love the Most High YAH, but they worship on a day that is not His, calling it His, just like Aaron made a golden calf and said, yeah, it's going to be a feast unto YAH, and it wasn't. It wasn't right. Still, this stuff's going on today. There's nothing new under the sun, folks. And, Ecclesiastes talks about a man should fear YAH and keep His commandments. That's the whole duty of a man, right? And, it sucks for me at this point in my walk to be a stranger and see the truth. Not that it sucks to see the truth, but I mean it just sucks that I can see the truth and know the truth. Try to preach the truth, and you see like Hebrew Israelites, they're always glad to get validated. To see a white, because everybody hates white men. White man's the devil. That's what everybody says, right? Right now, of course, lest we never forget that the Hamites threw your children to alligators, tried to destroy the whole nation of Israel and Egypt. Lest we never forget what the sons of Ham done. I mean, everybody wants to hate the white man, the Edomite. I'll tell you what, I would never want to forget what Egypt done to me if I was a Hebrew Israelite. But anyway, we see all this stuff going on, and as a stranger, it's so frustrating because it's like, okay, I don't hate you, and I'm glad you found out who you are. Be a light to the nations now, and instead it's, oh well, you can't be saved. You're a stranger. Blah blah blah, and then on top of that, tell everybody to get up under you, follow you, listen to your doctrines, your teachings, and what you command everybody to do, and you can't even get the Sabbath right. Like I'll tell you what, like it's been eye-opening over the years to see all that has went on, like I said, amongst the people of the nations that I've known that's tried to come to truth, and to see Hebrew Israelites now, to see how they interact with people, and especially the nations. But what is so interesting to me is to see this whole new level of idolatry, that the people worship science more than they do the Creator. Like, I've always been appalled at people worshiping on SATURN Day and then condemning the SUN Day people, being they're on the same pagan calendar, and then on the flip side of that, keep the feast days by the Father's actual scriptural calendar, and then to compound it further, like the Seventh-day Adventist Church over there in like Samoa, when they done the dateline change, caused part of the church decide they're going to do SUN Day to stay with the 777. Well, the rest of the church stayed with SAT Day that's condemning the SUN Day people. Like, oh my gosh, it's just so much hypocrisy. And I thought I would never see something like come up close to that level. And then, here you see today the jab, and people literally making a religion of this thing. And it all boils down to, if we really loved YAH, if we really loved him, okay? Because at times I look at myself and I'm like, bro, I don't love the master like I should, because my actions would speak better of this, and I can do better. So when I do these self-inventory checks of myself at times, I look at these situations and I look at people around me, and it's not that I'm trying to judge people. I'm just trying to judge righteous judgment. It's like, how dare you condemn me? Like, for example, as a stranger among the nations, trying to love the Father and keep his commands. How dare you judge me when you can't even strap on a tzitzit on your clothes, fringes? You can't even keep the Father's calendar. And then you went and took the jab. And I'm just using these as examples. I mean, like, we could get into the love thy neighbor, as thyself. I mean, people's obviously forgotten that. Like, I seen this thing the other day, and I don't mean to, I feel like I'm beating up on people today, but I'm just trying to make a point about keeping the commands. I seen this thing the other day. I can't think of the woman, but off the top of my head, but she was a big proponent of Black Lives Matter movement, right? And a black man ended up shooting her in the head. So she spent all this time condemning white people, and a black man shot her in the head. It goes to show you that evil doesn't care about color. And see, I think that's the problem in this nation right now, is even as believers, people are caught up in melanation. People are caught up in division. People are caught up in, I'm above you, you're below me. I've all of a sudden figured out who I am, so now I got to be telling you how it is. It's crazy to me when you look at all this, because the set apart spirit guides those of us that love him into truth, and I believe into all truth eventually. We all get there at a different path and point in time, and it wasn't like a fellow Gentile came and grabbed me by the hand and just dragged me out of Babylon. It wasn't like a Hebrew Israelite showed up on the doorstep at church one day and said, bro, don't go up in there. Let me tell you about the Most High YAH and keeping his commands. No, the set-apart spirit drugged me up out of there. And I think it is so detrimental right now that we spend so much time in division and tearing one another down that we have lost sight of the most important thing is to keep the commands and have faith in Messiah. Because, I mean, it's going to be a baruch if any of us make it the kingdom at this point. Dude, this world is just so wicked, so vile. And, this whole agenda forcing people to take this freaking jab. I am so angry right now. Like, I've had to, right now, Father God, please forgive me. I confess my sins before you. Forgive my thoughts lately, because I mean, I ain't gonna lie, folks. Like, they probably leaned on murderous thoughts in a way, I guess you would say, because I am just so angry over this jab thing that, like, if somebody comes to make me take it, I can't even begin to tell you the terrible things I plan to do to people. If it comes to that, and I'm talking like when the sun goes down at night, like the Grim Reaper shows up. Like, I mean, just terrible things. And it's not because, like, I sit around, meditate, just want to do evil. I have no criminal record. I've done nothing wrong to nobody. I've tried to do nothing but good to society and all humanity. But there's going to come a time when I feel like that doing normal life is not going to be normal anymore, and you're going to have to do things that you would have never thought you'd wanted to do. And within the bounds of Torah, that's the thing, is it's like, even when that time comes, like, okay, if I have to defend myself, just to do this stuff within the bounds of the Torah and the commands, because at least I'm justified in that manner. And I think that that's the thing, is if we would actually focus right now on, am I in line with the commandments? Am I really in line with the commandments? Then there would not be so much division in the body of believers. Because I see Torah keepers absolutely at odds with each other on different things, from the name to the true Hebrews to, I mean, I've been called a devil, I think, just because it talked about flat earth. I mean, like, and of course the Sabbath. I mean, that one is a massive monster of division right there, because, people that keep SAT day Sabbath, they're more holier than thou attitude. With a lot of people, and then the people who keep the lunisolar scriptural Sabbath, some of them's more holier than thou attitude. Both condemn each other, and of course, here's the bad thing about it. At the end of the day, there's only one Sabbath, and and Scripture plainly talks about it. From one new moon to another, from one Sabbath to another, all flesh will come worship before me, saith Yahuwah, and that's Isaiah 66:23, I believe. And and forgive me if I misquote that in any way. Like I said, there's the verse to go check it out, because I don't want to misquote this, but I'm just saying, like, in the new kingdom, we're going to be keeping the new moon. We're going to be keeping the Sabbaths by his timetable. There is going to be massive adjustments in your life, and you are going to comply if you're left alive when the master returns, including myself, a stranger of the nations. We've lost sight of the commandments. If people really, if churches really loved YAH, if churches really loved their God they worship, they would be a beacon of hope for the world, because it would shine such a bright light, that such a variance to evil, that people would be thrilled to show up. And now the reason people really enjoy going to church today, okay, is because it is a circus act in many places. And anything goes, baby. Anything goes. Like abominations, wickedness, you name it, just bring it on in. And it sucks, because a lot of us want to have fellowship with people, and you can't have it, because that's the atmosphere in which that it is, that you're stuck with. And I get that. And at the end of the day, come out of her, my people. I think about Messiah said, there's the sheep, but there's other sheep that will hear my voice, hear his voice and come, that are not of that flock, or whatever. And it's like, I hear, and I'm listening. And I don't care how big a following these camps have, churches have, Torah groups have, Christianity has. It's not about a numbers thing, okay? It's not about a popularity thing to me, all right? To me, at the end of the day, it is simple and cut, and it's always been since the beginning of the garden, is keep the commandments. have faith in the salvation, that which is to come. Because if you look at the end of the day, this is the last statement I'll make about any of this right here, and I hope I've said something that will change somebody's life today on Sabbath, is that if you look at it at the end of the day, I think it's 12 and 16, Revelation 12, 16, I believe it is, Revelation 14, and Revelation 22. I believe if you read in all three of those chapters, you will find, now two of them talk about faith in Messiah and keeping the commandments. The other ones, those that have keep the commandments, have the right to the tree of life. But if you look at that in context, the main thing that needs to be focused on right now is to keep the commandments and have faith in Messiah, because if we do that, we have obviously beat the mark of the beast system, and all this mess that's coming. And folks, it is getting, I mean, I'm getting to the point, as the final note on this last thing I'm saying is in relation to the time we're in right now, is the jab has been an eye-opening experience to see that if this does come to be the mark of the beast layout, at least we are knowing what we are fighting now at this point, because that has always been an underlying question mark for so many of us. And if it comes to the point where that we can't buy and sell, can't worship, and etc., and it all comes down to this pharmaceutical drug sorcery, which the book of Revelation warns that all the nations be deceived by the sorcery, then at least we finally know the enemy in which we are fighting. And when we see the guillotines roll out, and many lose their heads for this, and myself possibly included, at least we can take solace in the fact that it shall be swift, and the next conscious thought will be the resurrection and the new kingdom. So, guys, I hope I've said something that edify and uplift you today. Please know that I love everybody in this world. I don't care what your melanation is, your kindred tongue, nationality, if you're seed to Israel or a stranger. This is game time. And I hope that I have calmly, because I get animated at times, I have tried to really calmly digress this out today, because I see so many leaders puffed up. I see so many Gentiles puffed up. And I see a lot of Israel waking up, being puffed up. And by the time that you get your act together, you might have damaged a lot of people's walk toward the kingdom, and that's not good. So let us all walk humbly, keep the commands, fear Yah, and keep his commandments, and have faith in his son, because if we do that, I'm pretty certain you're going to get through this thing just fine. So guys, as always, till we see you again here, 7 Times Forever channel. Hope you have a wonderful Sabbath. If you're keeping the Father's scriptural calendar, you can check that out at worldslastchance.com. Links in the video description below. And as always, hope Most High Yah Baruch you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, show you favor, and give you shalom, my friends. In Yahushua name.